Welcome to Andrea Styles, a video blog about hair, fashion, and face. Today we're going to be talking about getting an instant eye lift in the way that you apply your liquid eyeliner. I'm going to give you a couple tips about how to do it, and if you'd like to follow along, here are the supplies that you're going to need. You're going to need some cream concealer and a concealer brush, your liquid liner, eyelash primer, and your mascara. All right, let's do this. So first things first, we're gonna use a cream concealer, and the reason that I'm using a cream concealer is because the liquid concealers, as soon as your natural warmth from your body starts to hit them, they tend to shift a little bit more, so I'm opting for a cream concealer so that there isn't as much shifting. And I have my concealer brush. Now listen carefully. What I'm going to do is, instead of drag my brush down like many people do, I'm going to use an art sensibility like you would paint a canvas and bring my brush upwards in upward motions. This is really, really important because this is that visual subtlety that makes your eye look like it's actually coming upwards, giving it that instant lift. Secondly, I'm going to use a concealer that is a shade lighter than my foundation, and I'm going to apply it a little bit heavier than I might in person, just because through the camera you might not see it quite as well. So notice, instead of continuing to go down, we're going to sweep upwards with our motion. Under the eye, where my skin is very smooth and doesn't have much texture, I use very smooth strokes. As I get to a spot where I have some texture and a freckle line, you'll notice that I'm using a stippling technique to blend the texture of the skin and the freckle line. Again, an art sort of concept. And already when you look at my two different eyes, you can see which one looks like it's lifted, brighter, which one you want to look towards more. So this is the eye that we're working on today. As you're working, if you notice that your concealer is starting to show up in the wrinkles a little bit, maybe you put a little too much in, just dab it with a sponge and pick up the excess. Next thing I'm going to use is the liquid liner. Now, I prefer liquid liner with a very soft tip, similar to a very fine nail polish brush. Some people like a stiffer tip. You know, if you like that, that's great. I just like a little bit more artistic freedom when I put mine on. The trick here when you're using the liner is that you're not going to follow the top lash line. You're going to follow the bottom. And the reason we do that is because the top lash line arches downwards, and we don't want the eye to look like it's closing down. Instead, we're going to use the bottom lash line that scoops upwards like a smile, so that again our eyes look like they're lifting all the way up. So my bottom lash line moves in this direction, and that's the direction that I'm going to draw my tip. You can see the tip there. It's very tiny, and it looks a bit disconnected, so now I'm going to go in and connect it. And I'm actually connecting it by drawing it in the backwards direction. And there I have a nice lifted eye with liquid eyeliner. And you can see the difference between the eye that doesn't have any concealer and doesn't have the liquid tip. Now, if you want to exaggerate this, this is the subtle take. This is what I would call day wear appropriate. If you want to exaggerate this because you're going to do an evening eye maybe, you can go ahead and do it even thicker. You're using the same concept though. You can even go for a more of a check mark kind of style. Just make sure that you're coming upwards in the correct direction and then connecting. It's very, very difficult to do a perfect lined eye in one quick swoop. So sometimes it takes a couple little swoops. And there you have a thicker lined eye. Now the trick is always start with the eye that you're worse at so that when you go to the next eye, you're better at it and you can match it better, because it is hard to match with liquid liner. I started with my right eye because it's closer to the camera, but typically if I'm getting dressed in the morning, I am not left-handed and I'm slower at my left eye, so I would typically start with my left eye. And that is the difference right there. So now that we have the one eye, we're gonna go do the other side. Now we are putting on the lash primer. What lash primer does for your eyes is it really protects your eyelashes from the drying of the mascara. It gives you a nice coat, like a base coat, so the mascara looks fuller and thicker. You can double coat or triple coat your primer because it's not as harsh to your eyelashes as double or triple coating your mascara. Personally, I usually just double coat if I'm going to. And for someone who doesn't want to be using a lash curler every single day, because that is a little aggressive to your eyelashes, the primer is a nice way to enhance without hurting. After the primer, I'm putting on my mascara. My particular eyelashes really like lengthening mascaras. Everybody's are different. I can't put mascara on without opening my mouth, like many of you. Helps me keep my eyes open. And when I put mascara on, my little trick is I like to actually close my lash slightly against the brush. And if you get a little extra somewhere where you don't want it, just grab a Q-tip and slightly dab or twist on that one spot. So as you can see, this is the finished look. We have an instant eye lift by simply using our cream concealer, our liquid eyeliner, our mascara primer, and our mascara appropriately. So thank you so much for joining. I hope you guys learned something today.